Today I'm going to go down to a little cemetery just about a mile away from the house. It's called the Brown OK Community Cemetery. The history of it is it started back in the 1870s when a few settlers came to the area, started a little store and put a few homes up there. They called themselves the Liberty Hill, and then they applied for a post office certification. Well, the post office said they had to change their name. I don't know if it's because there's another Liberty Hill nearby, but the post office said you had to change your name. And I think somebody must have said, okay. And the post office said, okay, that's your name. I'm sure that's not how it actually happened, but it sure makes sense. So the little OK community thrived there for several years until the 40s, when the military came in to put some military bases and posts in. And so they disbanded and dissolved this little town of OK. It was no longer okay to live in OK. Okay, hopped into Tesla, just went down the street a little ways to the Brown Cemetery, or the OK Community Cemetery. Let's see if I can get through the gate here. Okay, there we are. All right. As you can see, this is just a small cemetery, so this is going to be a small video. But we'll just kind of look around here a little bit and fill you in on what's so interesting about this cemetery. There's not a lot to see out here. There's still active cemetery, but there's a Brown, I guess, for the Brown family still lives out here, some of the older Browns. And it says that the oldest known headstone out here is from 1882, from I think someone's little infant was the first one buried out here. I'm not sure exactly who. A lot of these are hard to read. Here's a family plot here. They've got their edging all out. This one, I'm not exactly sure. It's really hard to read this one, but it looks like a homemade monument. A lot of these older cemeteries, they tend to have homemade ones. And the interesting thing about this cemetery is that it's not where it originally was. There's a military. There's a lot of There's a lot of these lost registered ones. They've got a lot of unknown graves, such as that, little unknown markers, because they originally had about 70 people in this cemetery, and 30 of them were unknown at the time, so they don't know who they were, had no records of them. The interesting thing about this cemetery is, if you look behind me, it looks like an airport. Well, that's because it is an airport. There goes an airplane. Back in 1953, the military was building Gray Air Force Base over here, and this cemetery was located at the end of the runway. And so they had the Army Corps of Engineers come over and painstakingly disinter and move all of the monuments over to this location off of the runway area, and then replace all of the headstones just in the almost exact locations as they would have been in the original cemetery. So everything is pretty much as you saw it in the 1800s, but now it's just moved about 1,600 feet further east from the airport here. Well, let's look at a few of these little headstones here while we're over here. So most of these, like I say, they're kind of hard to read just from the time. This one does have a dove with some olive branch in it, which means hope and peace. There's a large one with olive vines, ivies and vines. Those generally represent friendship, also eternity, because a lot of times vines will just keep growing out of nowhere and you can't get rid of them. Let's see what's over here. I can't tell what this is supposed to represent on this one. It looks kind of like trees and oh, I see. If you look real close, there's a crown, which is represents God's kingdom, and then I believe these are gates down here, entering into heaven's gates. Some of these, like I say, they're really hard to see what they are. $18.94. This one has like a lamb on a altar, where they've had to, from the Old Testament, where they would provide a sacrifice of a young lamb, because this was a fairly young person, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Lim on Zeitz. But that's about all there is to the cemetery here. So this will be a real short one, but like I said, this has an interesting tale to it. Let's see if I can get back through the gate over here and get to the car, and then we'll see what's next down the road. Put that chain back on there and hit the road. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the little tour of Brown OK Cemetery. It was an interesting little cemetery, and be sure if you have any questions or suggestions, comments, put them in comments below, and feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.